everyone! Welcome back to First Chapter Sunday. Today I'm going to be reading a part of the first chapter of Dawn. Dawn is the third book in the second series of Warriors, The New Prophecy, written by Erin Hunter. Let's get started. Chapter 1. It was Crowpaw who scented the moorland first, as the morning sun spread creamy light over the dew-soaked grass. Although he made no sound, Squirrelpaw saw his ears prick up and sensed him shake off a little the weariness he had struggled against since Feathertail's death. The dark gray WindClan cat quickened his pace, hurrying up the slope, where mist still clung to the long grass. Squirrelpaw opened her mouth and drew in a deep breath until she too could taste the familiar scent of gorse and heather on the cold morning air. Then she dashed after him with Brambleclaw, Stormfur, and Tawnypelt following fast behind. They could all smell the moorland scents now. They all knew they were close to the end of their long, exhausting journey. Without saying anything, the 5 cats stopped in a line at the edge of WindClan territory. Squirrelpaw glanced at her clanmate, Brambleclaw, and then at Tawnypelt, the Shadow Clan she-cat. Beside her, Stormfur, the Grey River Clan warrior, narrowed his eyes against the cold wind. But it was Crowpaw who stared most intensely at the rough grassland where he had been born. "We would not have come this far without Feathertail," he murmured. "She died to save us all," Stormfur agreed. Squirrelpaw winced at the raw sorrow in the River Clan warrior's voice. Feathertail was Stormfur's sister. She had died saving them from a ferocious predator after they had met an unfamiliar group of cats in the mountains. The tribe of Rushing Water lived behind a waterfall and listened to their own set of ancestors. Not Star Clan, but the tribe of endless hunting. A mountain cat had been preying on the tribe for many moons, picking them off one by one. When it had invaded the tribe's cavern yet again, Feathertail managed to dislodge a pointed spur of stone from the roof and send it crashing down to kill the beast. But she had been fatally wounded in the fall, and now she lay beneath rocks in the tribe's territory, close by the waterfall with the sound of rushing water to guide her to StarClan. "It was her destiny," Tawnypelt commented gently. "Her destiny was to complete the quest with us," Crowpaw growled. "StarClan chose her to travel to the sun-drowned place and hear what Midnight had to tell us. She shouldn't have died for another clan's prophecy." Stormfur padded up to Crowpaw's side and nudged the WindClan apprentice with his muzzle. "Bravery and sacrifice are part of the warrior code," he reminded him. "Would you have wanted her to make any other choice?" Crowpaw stared across the wind-ruffled gorse without replying. His ears twitched as if he were straining to hear Feathertail's voice on the breeze. "Come on!" Squirrelpaw bounded forward over the stunted grass, suddenly eager to finish the journey. She had argued with her father, Firestar, before she left, and her paws pricked with nervousness as she wondered how he would react to her return. When she and Brambleclaw had left the forest, they had not told any of the clan where they were going, nor why. Only Leafpaw, Squirrelpaw's sister, knew that StarClan had spoken to one cat from each clan, telling them in dreams to go to the sun-drowned place to hear Midnight's prophecy. None of them had guessed that Midnight would turn out to be a wise old badger, nor could they have imagined what momentous news she had to share with them. Crowpaw raced past her to take the lead, knowing the territory better than any of them. He headed toward a swath of gorse and disappeared along a rabbit track with Tawnypelt close behind. Squirrelpaw ducked her head to avoid catching her ears on the prickers as she followed them along the narrow tunnel. Brambleclaw and Stormfur were hot on her heels. She could feel the thud of their paws through the soil. As the gorse closed around her, memories beat dark wings inside her head, reminding her of the dreams that had been disturbing her sleep. Dreams of darkness and of a small space filled with panic and fierce scent. Squirrelpaw was sure these terrifying dreams were somehow connected to her sister. She told herself that now she was home, she would be able to find out exactly where Leafpaw was. But feeling a fresh wave of alarm, she raced toward the light. She slowed down when she emerged into an open, grassy space. Brambleclaw and Stormfur burst out after her, their fur raked by the sharp gorse spines. I didn't know you were scared of the dark, teased Brambleclaw, falling in beside her. I'm not, Squirrelpaw objected. I've never seen you run so fast, he purred, his whiskers twitching. I just want to get home, Squirrelpaw replied stubbornly. She ignored the glance Brambleclaw and Stormfur exchanged as they padded along beside her. The three cats were trailing behind Tawnypelt and Crowpaw, who had disappeared into a bank of heather. What do you think Firestar will say when we tell him about midnight? Squirrelpaw wondered out loud. Brambleclaw's ears twitched. Who knows? We're only the messengers, meowed Stonefur. All we can do is tell our clans what StarClan wanted us to know. Do you think they'll believe us? Squirrelpaw asked. If Midnight was right, I don't think we'll have much trouble convincing them, Stonefur pointed out grimly. Squirrelpaw realized that she had thought of nothing except returning home to her clan. She had pushed from her mind all thoughts of the threat that faced the forest. But her heart twisted with fear at Stormfur's words, and Midnight's terrifying warning echoed in her head. Two Legs built new thunder paths. Soon they come with monsters. Trees will then uproot, rocks break, the earth itself will tear apart. No place left for cats. You stay, monsters tear you too, or you starve with no prey. Her stomach tightened with dread. What if they were too late? Would there even be a home to return to? She tried to calm herself by recalling the sight of Midnight's prophecy. But you will not be without a guide. When returned, stand on great rock when Silverpelt shines above. A dying warrior the way will show. Squirrelpaw breathed deeply. There was still hope. But they had to get home. I smell WindClan warriors. Brambleclaw's yowl jerked Squirrelpaw back to the moorland. We must catch up with Crowpaw and Tawnypelt, she gasped. The impulse to face danger side by side with her traveling companions had become so instinctive that she had forgotten Crowpaw was actually WindClan and would not be in any danger from his clanmates. She burst out of the heather into a clearing and nearly collided with the scrawny WindClan apprentice. She stopped dead and stared at him in surprise. The apprentice was a very young tabby, barely old enough to leave the nursery from the look of him. He was crouching in the center of the clearing with his back arched and his pelt bristling, even though he was outnumbered and outsized by Crowpaw and Tawnypelt. He flinched as Squirrelpaw hurled out of the heather, but bravely stayed where he was. I knew I smelled intruders, he hissed. Squirrelpaw narrowed her eyes. Did a pathetic scrap like this really expect to take on 3 full-grown cats? Crowpaw and Tawnypelt looked calmly at the WindClan apprentice. Owlkit, Crowpaw meowed, don't you recognize me? The apprentice tipped his head to one side and opened his mouth to scent the air. I'm Crowpaw. What are you doing out here, Owlkit? Shouldn't you be in the nursery? The young apprentice slicked his ears. I'm Owlpaw now, he snapped. But you can't be an apprentice, Crowpaw exclaimed. You're not 6 moons old yet. And you can't be Crowpaw, growled the tabby. Crowpaw ran away. But he loosened his battle-ready muscles and padded over to the WindClan cat, who stood calmly while the apprentice sniffed his flank. You smell strange, Owlpaw declared. You've traveled a long way, explained Crowpaw, but we're back now and I need to speak with Tallstar. Who must speak with Tallstar? A belligerent meow made Squirrelpaw jump, and she turned to see a WindClan warrior pick his way out from the heather, lifting his paws high to avoid the thorns. 2 more warriors followed him. Squirrelpaw stared at them in alarm. They were so thin she could see the ribs beneath their fur. Hadn't these cats been catching any fresh kill recently? It's me, Crowpaw, meowed the WindClan apprentice, the tip of his tail twitching. Webfoot, don't you recognize me? Of course I do, meowed the warrior in a flat tone. He sounded so indifferent that Squirrelpaw felt a jab of pity for her friend. This was no sort of homecoming, and Crowpaw hadn't even given his clanmates the bad news yet. This is all of the first chapter of Dawn that I'm going to read to you. I hope you're interested, and if you are, don't forget to look for this book. Thank you for listening. See you next time. Bye!